It is Cody from the Keepers Nerdum. How you doing? I wanted this to be an epic rant against Ahsoka this episode, and then something happened. It was good. Really good. I'm going to still rant a little bit, because this frustrates me, because if the ability for it to be good is present and it's capable of doing so, why weren't the first 3 episodes like this? Especially the first 2. The third one at least had some things that were interesting in it. This one has some small problems, but overall, it's a really good episode, and I was shocked because it's not supposed to happen. Because at this point, Star Wars just does stupid stuff. And yet, all of a sudden, we get an episode that actually makes a little bit of sense and is decent and good and fun and has lightsaber fights that actually kind of look like lightsaber fights even from like episode 4 and 5. We actually get some action. We get a really cool hyperspace warp out. Awesome. Cool. Good stuff. We get some really interesting character developments and stories. But I will say, and I think this is it, I know how to save Star Wars. Really simple. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's go through a little bit of this article from space.com. Ahsoka Season 1, Episode 4 review. Let's see what they have to say, see if we agree with it, and it'll help us walk through the episode together. The 4th episode of Ahsoka is an excellent midpoint chapter packed with gorgeous duels and leads into an unpredictable second half of the season. Yeah, because it's actually good, and it actually has things that matter in it. And I will say, finally, Baylan Skoll actually was an interesting character, even though he's really still stoic. That's the thing. I will say that. I do not understand why everybody is all sold on this character, because he is just as stoic as everybody else, but I think it's because he is, I hate to say it, but like a guy figure that we haven't been introduced to that could be stoic, whereas Ahsoka shouldn't be stoic because we know how she should act. To be fair, she is a little bit more stoic ever since everything happened back in the past, but still, boring what she is now. Hera, stoic. Sabine, most of the time, stoic. That's lame. Anyway, let's continue on. So, all right. Force is strong with Ahsoka Tano so far. No, that is incorrect. The first 3 episodes were not good, and they even note it right here. After a notable, albeit unevenly paced double episode series period. No, they were terrible. They didn't make sense. And then it says an adventurous 3rd chapter. The 3rd episode had some things in it that were good, training and things like that. But yet she's not actually a Jedi. She doesn't have the Force powers. This is way better. Way better. And it's part 4 makes good use of all the setups done so far. It's fast becoming one of the best Star Wars TV shows we've seen so far. Yeah, I think so. But anyway, actually, this is a side note problem that really frustrates me with all the Star Wars, and me and my brother were talking about this, and I think actually the problem actually rests all the way back on George Lucas, ironically. But Star Wars has never been about the scientific side, and one of their big issues is how long it takes to jump from place to place. Sometimes you could get this thing that it's hours or even days, but it also could be very well minutes, like 20 minutes from wherever. And we see that in episode 4. And yeah, like there's no clear indication of the time frame that actually happens. And it's really frustrating because without setting the tone and the law of how that functions and time frames, like Star Trek used to do, there's no clear indication of how long it should take to get somewhere and how much time you have to prepare. It's just really frustrating. But anyway, in Fallen Jedi, urgency takes over the plot, and the two protagonists are forced to make some tough decisions. Moreover, Peter Ramsey, who also had him chapter 21 of The Mandalorian direction, clean but stylish, perfectly understands what peak Star Wars feels and looks like. I would say, yeah, this is so good. Filoni wrote most of the script. A good old-fashioned samurai movie, and the right tempo and framing are there. That's fair, right? All right, let's keep going. Here's your spoilers. Okay, so Sabine Wren and Ahsoka are preparing to defend themselves from what's coming. And Hugh Wei, I can't remember his name. The droid played by David Tennant is outside repairing the ship. And that's a really good thing. Honestly, okay, I don't want to say it yet, but I think I'm close. Hu Yang, And he actually breaks part of the ship to get them to come out to help defend against the assassin droids, because he holds his own for a little bit, but he can tell he's about to get defeated because he's not built for fighting. He's more capable, and he uses his little arms on his back for a little bit to hit a few things and to push the droid back a little bit. And it's good. And then Ahsoka gets out there and they fight, and then Sabine and Ahsoka have to fight against the girl apprentice and potentially Sam Witwer's character that disappears in a puff of smoke when he gets cut, as though he was just, or at the very least, powered up by Night Sister magic, or even resurrected. Very interesting. Very interesting. Will we see any more of him, or is he gone for good? Probably gone for good. It's kind of interesting to note that they hired Sam Witwer potentially to play this character. Hera comes back with her son, and they take a few X-Wings with them that want to just join in, and it's the guy that we've seen in Mandalorian and other shows around this time frame. The older guy. Really enjoy him just being there kind of as a staple character. It's just fun. So they head out, and they finally do get a message, and they're in orbit right as, a side note, the thing finally jumps, and they get hit by it, and most of the X-Wings get blown up. Pretty intense stuff. Ironically, that actually isn't a good thing, because it actually also then proves that, yes, getting hit by a ship that goes into hyperspace will destroy you. So actually they reinforced a bad part of, what was that, episode 8? Yeah. Terrible thing, because once you introduce that, it's a mess. So anyway, and they just reinforced it, and they don't realize it. It looked really cool. Again, that's the problem. It looks really cool, but it messes with so much canon and lore. And honestly, J.J. Abrams is not immune to that, because they were able to jump through the shields of the planet super weapon Starkiller base in episode 7. So this wasn't a problem that wasn't just by Rian Johnson. J.J. Abrams was introducing the concept there too, to an extent. Anyway, it just depends on if you'd kept in warp, would you just come out past it as though you never interact with each other? But we have had some things even in the Clone or Rebels with the space whales, the Plagars, I can't remember their name. Pilgas. I can't remember what they're called. Yeah. Purgils. The Purgils. My goodness. All right, so Ahsoka gets a rematch against Merrick, and it's a good fight. It's interesting, and she just cuts him, and then he goes down. Sabine should be defeated, but she's using more for fighting, at least at first, and then at the very end as a Mandalorian, and it's pretty good. It's good. We get a lot of lightsaber fights in this, and honestly, the fight between Ahsoka and Baylan is slow but yet good, and it's interesting, and I kind of actually appreciate the slowness of it, because it's more of a testing of the waters between them and their power level. Really interesting. And so Merrick goes down. The girl runs away after a little bit fighting Sabine, because Ahsoka goes to try to stop the little ball thing from giving them the coordinates that they need to use the massive warp drive ship to go. The warp drive. Haha. Hyperspace drive. Right? And it's interesting. Like this is a great, there's tension here. This is good. This is nice. Yeah. And so Baylan actually wins the fight, because Ahsoka's trying to grab the little ball map thing, and she does at one point. It burns her. I mean, there's a lot of energy flowing through it, so it'd be hot. Yeah, like, cool, makes sense. And then she gets pushed off the ledge, and you're like, oh crap, she might be dead, which it's Ahsoka. She's not gonna be dead. But then Sabine shows up, and she's like, I'm gonna shoot the thing, and she was at the very end of the fight, and still, Ahsoka got pushed off, and Baylan just goes, you know what? I promise, if you don't, you can come with me, and you can see your friend Ezra. And she's like, all right. There's a little more tension there, and the young other trainee girl underneath Baylan shows back up and tries to choke her, and he's like, no, I promise, which is really interesting. So he's like a dark Jedi, but he'll actually be willing to fulfill his promises, because we see Sabine on the big ship. So next episode is going to be interesting about where they are, as long as they show it. Very interesting. Does Ahsoka have the map burned into her hand? The answer, ironically, is probably. It'll be so silly, but yet that's what they're going to do. Because that wouldn't actually get you information. Because not all of she wasn't holding all of the ball with her hand. Just saying, so silly. But they're gonna do that. I almost guarantee you. And somehow it's gonna be possible. And they're gonna be like, I can interpret the rest of it based on what I can see from you. And like, you had to turn that thing to make it in a certain map. That doesn't work. Anyway, so the map does get destroyed by Balin after they get the coordinates. Then they set off, and boom, they jump into hyperspace with Sabine here. She's totally going to turn against them once she gets Ezra. It's going to be ridiculous. Anyway, we know it's coming. So now they're off to find Grand Admiral Thrawn, all right, and potentially Ezra. But then Ahsoka wakes up, and what does she see? We'll just hover right here. It's a great spot to pause our little trek through this article. She is in the world between worlds. What's it called? I can't remember the term for it, but it was from Rebels, where you can actually like interact and jump into different points in time. Really dangerous that it's even been introduced. But she turns around and sees Anakin. Hayden Christensen, de-aged from Revenge of the Sith, Anakin. Really cool, really great place to end an episode because now I'm kind of interested and intrigued. But here's the problem with this. Let me just, it's not a problem right here. It's let me save Star Wars. It's so easy, guys. We're so close. Please do it. Here's what you do for your next show or your next movie series, trilogy. It would be great. You have Luke Skywalker as the young man that we've seen him at this point in the TV shows with Mandalorian and such. After all this stuff happens, interacting and fighting against Thrawn and trying to restart the Jedi Order. And you get Hugh Yang, because he is a perfect droid to know and to be able to train younglings. Boom. Awesome. Have him help train C-3PO in some of how this works, so that way 3PO can actually be a replacement if need be. You get Ahsoka on board. You make this a part of it, and here's how you do it, right? You go between two pieces of this. Oh, here's the thing. She's in the world between worlds or whatever it's called. Have her change the sequel trilogy. Please. Just do it. Change it. Let her see the Rey stuff coming and go, that doesn't make any sense at all, and this doesn't add up. Luke wouldn't do this. And Anakin go, yeah, this is a remote possibility, but somehow has been influenced in such a way by someone behind the scenes that's evil. Whoa! Boom! Somebody influenced this whole thing and put it in Luke's mind that everything was crazy, epic, not good, when it wasn't. And that's why he's tried to strike down in the middle of the night his nephew. And Ahsoka fixes it. And it never happens. Rey doesn't happen like this at all. She could totally come back as a Jedi, trained under Luke the right way. It would be amazing. We would have a good show. It would be great. You would see Ahsoka as the hero. And then also, here's what you do for your next show or movie series. You have Luke restarting the Jedi Order, training these Jedi with the things that he knows, and he gets Ahsoka, hires her, right? Like, basically says, hey, come help me. And she finally goes, you know what? Yes, we do need to restart the Jedi Order, and we need to build it back right this time and figure out what went wrong because I lived through it. And then one of them, or both of them at times, here's what your show or your movies do. Real simple, real interesting. One's training while the other goes and searches for the rumors of some Jedi that survived the purge. And you get Cal Kestis. You get Ezra, depending on what happens here, right? You get Grogu back. And you have the Mandalorian as a side character to this, defending the Jedi Temple and the information for this. Boom. Golden stuff. You CGI in Carrie Fisher and Harrison Ford as younger parts of themselves, introducing their kids at the Jedi Temple towards the end of it, going, train our kids. And it's not Ben Solo yet, it's Jason and Jaina, and they have Ben later. Boom. Solved it. Fixed Star Wars. It's back to something amazing. Oh, Mara Jade could be a part of the story that she's trying to track down and kill some of these Jedi that have survived. Whoa. What if, oh, this would be intense. What if she kills Ezra Bridger? Or Cal Kestis? Or what if we get some sort of clone and it's in part confirmed that Sam Witwer's characters from The Force Unleashed was actually real to some extent. Maybe not necessarily as bombastic as it was. He wouldn't necessarily be a Jedi in the same way, but he would have been trained by Vader. And what if we have a clone that actually helps train Jedi? Mind blown, right? And then we actually get back to some of the characters from the books, the older extended universe stuff, like reintroduce some of these things. What if we actually did that? What if we actually took it and had something amazing? Amazing. There was a character in some of the old EU stuff that he couldn't actually use a whole lot of the Force, but what he could do is project visions to people, and he could suck out the Force illusions, the energy from lightsabers and energy things. And I can't remember his name, but I always loved him in the book series, and it was so good. Let me find it. This was a character I would love to have him that could siphon energy. What was his name? It was so cool because his dad or mom, I think it was his dad, he was a Jedi in the Jedi Order at some point, and somehow he had a kid, right? Did things he wasn't supposed to in the Jedi Order stuff. But if you guys know in the comments, let me know who that character was. I'm drawing a blank, and I loved reading about him in the series because he was weaker than so many of the other Jedi, but yet he had the special gifting that others didn't, and so he could actually do some interesting pieces that were really fascinating parts of the puzzle. Part of Luke's academy. Let's see. Jedi Temple of Luke Skywalker, the New Jedi Order. Come on. I want to know. Who was it? Ben Solo's hut. No, not this crap. Terrible. Battle of Jakku. Man, I tell you what. There's some... it just makes me mad. There's so many good things, but that's how I would fix Star Wars, and it's so... Yeah, Mara Jade would be so good. Anakin Solo. Kyle Katarn. That's from an old game. Tanel, where is he? Corran Horn. That's who it was. Corran Horn. Corran Horn was fascinating because he was so different from everybody else. And it's sad because he's now not in any of the lore because Disney Star Wars messed everything up. And if somebody at this point is still trying to defend that Disney Star Wars is on the right track, have them watch this episode that it's possible to actually have good Star Wars if it goes back to its roots and goes back to what George Lucas overall envisioned. Oh, that's another thing. Okay, last little thing. This is my last rant, and then we're done. Okay, there's a point where Sabine puts her hand out to Force, and the girl apprentice to Balin flinches and moves back, and you can't tell, is she just doing it because she thought there was going to be a force attack, or did something actually happen from Sabine? And if it's from Sabine, that is the stupidest bullcrap I've ever seen in my life, and it should never happen again. That was dumb. She has been acknowledged multiple times in this show. She does not have the capability of wielding the Force. And you know what? It's okay that she doesn't. And you know what? She shouldn't. Not everybody is supposed to be a Force wielder, and that logic stuff from episode 3 of this show is stupid. You don't just believe in yourself and all of a sudden you become a Force wielder. That is dumb. No, do not let that crap into this stuff, because it's going to ruin all of Star Wars by just saying, you just believe in yourself and you train hard enough and you're going to become a Force wielder that's just as strong as Master Yoda. It's going to be great. It's amazing how people lost their minds at how they thought it was dumb that midichlorians were a thing from the prequel trilogy, and then Disney Star Wars said, here, hold my Bud Light, and we're going to do something even worse and stupider. Yeah, I said it like that because it is. It is not just stupid at proper grammar, it's stupider. It's not even good grammar, it's dumb, and it shouldn't happen in Star Wars because it doesn't work with the lore stuff established. Dave Filoni is one of the better things with Jon Favreau that has happened to Disney Star Wars at all. And yet, here we are with some of these issues. And then we see episode 4 right here that overall has really, really good stuff. And they just keep being stupid in their logic. If so help me, Sabine has some sort of force powers all of a sudden. If she actually has force powers that are being shown now, all of a sudden, even though we've already acknowledged she doesn't have force ability, I guarantee you at some point she's going to do something that no other Jedi has ever done before. Or some other power level of something crazy that nobody else has seen before. Mark my words, it sounds stupid, and it should be, and it should never happen, and it's gonna. Somehow, some way, it will. And I will be ticked off. Let me know down in the comments below, what did you think of this episode? What do you think of this show? Are we possibly going to fix Star Wars finally and get it back on track, since the head honcho of all of Lucasfilm Disney Star Wars has been ghosted from her job and her role? Will we finally have a chance to fix some of this stuff, or is it going to just keep heading to the sequel trilogy of dumb and be more stupider? I've been Cody from the Keepers of Nerddom. Please like, share, and subscribe. Let me know in the comments what you think of this episode and the show as a whole. And is Disney Star Wars past its best before date? Take care. Bye, y'all.